It's been 1 week since Donald Trump announced his bold vision for destroying the economy. And guess what? His plan...
That starting tonight at midnight, the U.S. will tax imports from China at a rate of 104%.
Trump's tariffs aren't saving America. They're sinking it faster than China ever could. China has just slammed the brakes on every single investment into the United States, effective immediately. No warning, no hesitation, just a cold, hard stop. This isn't a minor policy tweak. It's an economic bombshell, detonated by China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange. Their reason? Escalating political risks and the need to protect national assets. And the trigger? Donald Trump's threat of an additional 50% tariff on Chinese goods, followed by his 25% tariff announcement on $200 billion worth of imports. Wall Street is reeling, the Dow's plummeting, and the world is watching as this tit-for-tat trade war spirals into chaos. Buckle up. This is an all-out economic showdown, and no one's backing down. Let's rip the bandage off and face the brutal reality. Since 2018, Chinese investments into the U.S. have cratered by a staggering 90%, from a towering peak of $46 billion down to a pitiful $2.3 billion in 2025. That's not just a decline, it's a near-total annihilation, the lowest level in almost 20 years. This isn't some abstract statistic. It's a death knell for American companies that gorged on Chinese cash to fuel their ambitions. Tech titans like Apple, Qualcomm, and Tesla, once swaggering with innovation, are now gasping for air. Commercial real estate moguls, who built gleaming skyscrapers on the back of Beijing's billions, are watching their empires tremble. These firms are like engines sputtering without gas, teetering on the edge of collapse. The U.S. stock market's a bloodbath, 2 relentless days of carnage. The Dow's hemorrhaged over 1,700 points in 48 hours, with a single-day plunge of 1,000 points lighting up panic alarms from New York to Silicon Valley. This isn't a hiccup. It's a full-on economic heart attack, and Trump's tariff threats are the jolt that stopped the pulse. Why does this sting so deep? Chinese capital wasn't just a nice-to-have. It was the lifeblood of American expansion. Picture Silicon Valley without its shiny new campuses, or Manhattan without its luxury towers. That's the void China's leaving behind. Since 2018, the U.S. leaned hard on this cash to keep the growth engine roaring. Think AI breakthroughs, 5G rollouts, and urban sprawl. Now, with the tap shut off, innovation's stalling, construction's grinding to a halt, and jobs are evaporating faster than you can say, trade war. The Dow's nosedive isn't just numbers on a screen. It's a scream from the market, begging for stability. Trump's gamble was that tariffs would bring China to its knees, but instead, he's kneecapped America's own economy. The data's damning. $3.2 billion in 2025 is a shadow of what it was, and every dollar lost is a brick pulled from the foundation of U.S. prosperity. This is economic warfare, and right now, China's got the upper hand. China didn't flinch. They roared back with vengeance. On April 10th, 2025, Beijing dropped a 34% tariff bomb on all U.S. goods, locking onto $143 billion worth of American exports every year. Soybeans, corn, processed foods, the beating heart of U.S. agriculture, took the brunt of the blast. This is a gut punch to American farmers, already staggering from years of economic storms, now facing a knockout blow. But China didn't stop there. They've tightened their iron grip on rare earth exports, those obscure minerals that power everything from your iPhone to Pentagon missiles. Starting April 10th, hundreds of billions in trade will freeze solid, like a mighty river dammed by Beijing's wrath. This isn't a slap on the wrist. It's a thunderous counterstrike. China's State Council didn't mince words, accusing the U.S. of bullying and endangering global trade order. Trump sneered, calling it a panicked flail. But make no mistake, this is a calculated war cry from a nation that's had enough. Let's dissect this retaliation. It's a masterclass in hitting where it hurts. Agriculture's the soft underbelly of the U.S. economy, especially in the Midwest, where farmers were already clinging to survival amid droughts, debt, and falling prices. China's tariffs don't just cut profits, they sever lifelines, turning surplus harvests into rotting piles. Then there's the rare earth card. China controls over 69% of global supply, and the US imports 70% of its needs from them. By choking this flow, Beijing's not just flexing, they're strangling industries from tech to defense. Imagine Tesla's gigafactories grinding to a halt, or the Air Force scrambling for drone parts. That's the leverage China's wielding. This isn't panic, it's precision, aimed at exposing America's vulnerabilities. The tension's palpable. Two giants slugging it out, with the world as the ring. Trump's tariffs were supposed to strong-arm China into submission, but Beijing's flipped the script, proving they can punch back twice as hard. This is economic brinkmanship, and the stakes are sky-high. The fallout's apocalyptic, and the numbers paint a grim picture. The U.S. International Trade Commission ran the math. These tariffs could slash U.S. GDP by 0.05%, a $500 billion gutshot, and obliterate 27,000 jobs in industries tethered to exports. Consumers are next in the crosshairs, facing higher prices for everything. Bread's up, smartphones are pricier, and car parts are a luxury. The Dow's 7% freefall in days isn't a glitch, it's a siren. Big names like Domino's, Krispy Kreme, and Bed Bath & Beyond are boarding up stores, slashing costs to survive. Tech and retail are bleeding jobs. WPP, the ad giant, lost 16% of its market value in a single day. Small businesses, thousands are gone. Their closed signs a silent scream. Manufacturing stagnating, factories are idling, and supply chains are snapping like dry twigs. This is a chain reaction of ruin. Production stalls, workers hit the streets, and the economy contracts into a shadow of itself. Trump sold tariffs as a golden ticket, revenue for the government, leverage over China. But the reality? It's a boomerang shredding America's own flesh. That 0.05% GDP hit isn't abstract. It's layoffs in Detroit, foreclosures in Ohio, empty shelves in Texas. The job losses, 27,000, aren't just stats. They're families losing homes, kids skipping meals. Big corporations can limp along, but small retailers? They're roadkill in this war. The Dow's collapse reflects a market losing faith, and consumer prices spiking 5.3% on food alone show the pain's immediate. Trump's tariff obsession is choking the very engine he swore to rev up, and China's counterstrike is the chokehold. Retaliations made U.S. goods radioactive overseas. Exporters are drowning, and the ripple's relentless. This isn't a slowdown, it's a slide toward recession, and the U.S. is running out of lifelines. This war's gone global, and the shock waves are seismic. The European Union's loading its own cannons, plotting tariffs on U.S. tech and farm goods. France, Germany, and the UK are pivoting to China, gobbling up cheaper electronics and steel as U.S. tariffs price American products out. Japan's not playing nice either. They've dumped tens of billions in U.S. treasuries, a financial sucker punch to Trump's tariffs on their electric vehicles like Toyota's Prius and Nissan's Leaf. Canada's gone rogue, boycotting U.S. goods, canceling travel, and flexing its trade muscle. China's exports to Europe surged in 2023, and now they're poaching U.S. allies into their sphere. This isn't a skirmish. It's a global realignment, and America's on the ropes. Trump's tariffs were supposed to bend the world to his will, but they're breaking alliances instead. The EU's retaliation isn't petty, it's survival. U.S. goods are toxic now, and Europe's turning to China's lower tariffs like moths to a flame. Japan's treasury sell-off? That's a dagger to the dollar's heart. 60% of global reserves are in greenbacks, and Tokyo's signaling they're done propping it up. Canada's defiance is a slap from a neighbor, proving even the closest allies won't stomach this chaos. The tension's a geopolitical tsunami, washing away decades of trust. China's not just fighting, they're recruiting, turning U.S. isolation into their gain. This is power shifting in real time, and America's losing ground by the minute. Zoom in past the headlines. This is personal. U.S. farmers are bleeding out. China's 34% tariffs shredding soybean and corn markets they've relied on for decades. They're not just losing sales, they're losing farms, legacies crumbling under debt and despair. Unemployment's spiking. Rural towns are ghostlands, with no jobs to replace what's gone. Consumers are next, hit with food prices up 5.3% while wages flatline. Canada's at 2.1%, mocking U.S. pain. Rents at all-time highs, pushing families to the brink, and a housing crisis looms like a storm cloud. Mass foreclosures could spark a 2008-style crash. And where's the relief? Trump's pouring millions into rallies and legal fights, not farms or factories. This is a slow-motion disaster, and the people are the wreckage. This is the trade war's human toll, and it's savage. Farmers were Trump's base, now they're his collateral damage, drowning as China slams the door. Rural unemployment's not a statistic. It's a death spiral for communities already hollowed out. Consumers feel it daily. $5 bread, $1,000 phones, rent they can't pay. The housing bubble's swelling, and banks are tightening credit, setting the stage for a financial implosion. Trump's war is a betrayal of the heartland, his promises ringing hollow as the pain mounts. China's retaliation isn't just economic, it's a knife to the gut of everyday Americans. And the government's response? Silence or self-promotion? This is where policy meets flesh, and the flesh is losing. Trump's not just fighting China, he's dodging flack at home. Robert De Niro's swinging hard, calling him stupid, and a clown who could morph into a nightmare. Think Hitler, Mussolini, underestimated fools turned tyrants. Wanda Sykes tears into his maturity, joking he's a 70-year-old toddler who'll never grow up, and skewers why Tiffany Trump gets Secret Service while families scrape by. The critique's a brutal mirror. Trump's a fake billionaire squandering America's trust, and the laughs are laced with dread. Even his base is wavering. Protests flare, accusing him of betrayal. This isn't comedy. It's a cultural reckoning. De Niro and Sykes aren't just roasting. They're diagnosing a nation's fever. Trump's stable genius mask is cracking, and the public's fed up. De Niro's warning carries weight. History's littered with clowns who burned the world down, and underestimating Trump's chaos could bite hard. Sykes nails the disconnect. Why protect Tiffany while farmers lose everything? It's a symptom of a leader detached, a system warped. Protests from his own voters signal the tide turning. This tension's not just economic, it's existential. Trump's bluster's losing its shine, and the laughter's a thin veil over fear. Can he pivot, or will he double down into the abyss? The trade war's gone continental, and Europe's not playing defense, they're swinging back. France's industry minister Marc Ferracci just dropped a bombshell on April 9, 2025, urging French companies to suspend all investments in the US until Trump's tariff chaos clears. This isn't a suggestion, it's a battle cry, echoing President Emmanuel Macron's earlier call to halt billions in planned US projects. Why? Trump's sweeping tariffs, 20% on European imports, 104% on Chinese goods, are a sledgehammer to global trade, and France is done taking hits. Ferracci, speaking from an Airbus factory in Toulouse, called these levies unprecedented since the 1930s, warning they'll destabilize economies and torch jobs. Europe's plotting a proportionate but firm counterstrike, with the EU eyeing 25% tariffs on US goods like tech and agriculture. This isn't just talk. Airbus, a Franco-European titan, is reassessing its US expansion plans, and the ripples spreading. France's move is a tectonic shift, Europe's economic spine stiffening against Trump's bully tactics. Macron and Ferracci aren't bluffing. They're channeling decades of transatlantic frustration. The US buys $600 billion in EU goods yearly. Think Italian wine, German cars, French planes, and Trump's 20% tariff threatens to choke that flow. Airbus, assembling jets for US carriers like Delta and United, could slash its Alabama operations, costing American jobs ironically in Trump's own backyard. This is defiance with teeth, leveraging Europe's industrial might to force a rethink. Ferracci's proportionate line is diplomatic code for "we'll hit back hard," The EU's anti-coercion tools could target US digital giants like Google or even financial flows. The tension's a powder keg. France is betting Trump blinks first, but if he doesn't, this escalates into a transatlantic slugfest. Europe's not just a bystander, it's a player, and they're rewriting the rules. Back home, Americans are waking up to a grim reality. A Reuters Ipsos poll from April 8, 2025, lays it bare. 73% of U.S. adults expect a price surge on everyday goods, clothes, groceries, gadgets, thanks to Trump's tariff blitz. This isn't a hunch. It's a gut punch, with just 4% believing prices might drop. Trump's 104% levy on China, 25% on Canada and Mexico, and 20% on Europe isn't abstract policy. It's a wrecking ball to wallets. Wall Street's hemorrhaging. $6 trillion wiped from U.S. stocks last week alone, and consumers are next. Most Americans are bracing for the hit, the poll says, as economists warn of recession risks spiking to 40%. Inflation's already sticky, and these tariffs are pouring fuel on the fire. 73% see it coming, and they're not wrong. This poll's a flashing red alert. Americans aren't buying Trump's tariff fairy tale. He pitched these taxes as a shield for jobs, but 73% see through it. Higher prices are the real harvest, not prosperity. Take a $50 pair of sneakers, slap a 104% tariff on Chinese imports, and you're staring at $100 overnight. Food's up 5.3% already. Add Canada's 25% hit, and your bacon's pricier too. The poll's timing, days after Trump's biggest tariff wave, shows faith eroding fast. Wall Street's $6 trillion loss isn't elite whining. It's retirement accounts tanking, small businesses folding. The tension's visceral, people versus policy, and people are losing. Economists peg a 40% recession odds if this holds. JP Morgan's not mincing words. Trump's doubling down, but 73% of Americans are signaling dread, not hope. This is a nation on edge, and the bill's due. China's retaliation has unleashed an economic firestorm, and Trump's tariffs have lit the match. From Wall Street to Main Street, the fallout's real. Jobs lost, prices soaring, allies turning away. This isn't just a trade war, it's a global reckoning, and the US is on the ropes. Stay tuned, because this story's far from over, and the next chapter could change everything.